Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Tonight, we get to delve deep into the paranormal with Al Santariga, the godfather of the paranormal. 53 years of experience in all aspects of the paranormal field. Intuitive, experiencer, investigator, researcher, and cryptozoologist. He has appeared in half a dozen independent films and has been on network TV covering all aspects of the paranormal. Al Santariga is next. Welcome to the Three Beards podcast. My name is Craig, along with Austin and Chris.
Passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century.
Let me out.
I'm afraid that is why I need you.
Then live to send the innocent to their death? Is this justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
All right, Chris, we are back. So we're still sans Austin, so he's not going to be back until possibly into May, June, because he's doing fire school. So everybody, in case you're wondering where he's at. So everybody thinks, welcome to the show. This beard right here is brought to you, not Chris's yet, because I'm been kind of lazy and haven't brought the bottle in yet. Outer Realms Bathworks. Tanya Medea, she made this blend, and she put her label on there. So we'll see. Maybe we might, like I said, have our own signature blend back again. So yeah, it's really good. It's a nice citrus blend. So I really like it. So hold on one second. I think it sounds better now. There we go. All right. So here, let's bring on Al to the show. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Good. Nice meeting you guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show, and welcome everybody. You know, it's like I got Brady Mona and then Mark Eddie's here. So like I said, appreciate everybody's showing up. Chassis, and so just everybody. I'm really looking forward to this. Like I said, long time coming. You had a few illnesses come out of left field and knock you down, but we were finally able to get you healthy and get you on the show.
Amen, brother. Yeah, I mean, it's just shit happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I kind of gave a little bit of your bio, but I mean, you are the founder of the Bronxville Paranormal Society, director of the New York State UFO Project, director of the New York State Sasquatch Organization, and director of the New York State Dogman Project. And,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, you've got, quite the list of, experience, in the paranormal field and all aspects. And so our discussions, that's one of the things I wanted to bring you on is just one, we haven't really delved into the Dogman yet. So, tonight we'll kind of touch on that a little bit.
I got great Dogman experiences. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that's, I mean, what we could do is just because one of the things, like I've teased other things, so we'll start here just because, so I don't get too far astray. I'm known for getting a little distracted. So we'll start here. I teased it, connections of the paranormal. One of the things through your experience, and you mentioned this, and so I'm going to let you just take it from here because, obviously it's your story, is through all your experiences, you found that you've started to see that there's a connection between most, if not all aspects of the paranormal. And, a lot of people, tend to miss some of those connections. And so floor is yours.
Well, yeah, we being a paranormal investigator, it's the way I started off. My brother is a parapsychologist, and my mom had premonitions all her life. So we started off as a paranormal team, But because I experienced all kinds of stuff, whether it's UFO related, I had my first UFO sighting at 10 years old. I had my first Bigfoot sighting experience at 12, and so we just incorporated everything into our group, and we would go out and we would investigate and we do what we do, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
we started getting invited to symposiums and stuff to talk. And then we started catching a lot of flack from different groups. Like, the ufologists would say, what's the paranormal group doing here? Or the cryptozoologists would say, what's a ufologist doing here? So we ended up the same team, same group of guys. We all do the same thing. We ended up dividing the Bronxville Paranormal Society, or I like to call BPS, into 3 other groups. And this way, when we go to a symposium, if we get invited to a symposium, we go. If it's cryptid related, we got the cryptid banners, we got the name, we don't catch any flack from anybody else, and vice versa with the ufologist and the paranormal people, So that's why there's so many groups, to make everybody happy, so we don't have to fight with everybody. But it's the same group of guys. Everybody does the same job, And what we do in
Hmm.
one group, we do in the other. But as time goes on, years go by, and you have more experience, you start seeing things and realizing things. And listen, man, I'll be the first to admit I was so wrong so many times. You know what I mean? Like, I would hear people talk about higher consciousness and this, that, and the other thing. And I would say, man, these dudes are crazy. They're just out of their mind. And then as time goes on and you get more experience, and then you get more sensitive. I don't claim to be a psychic by any stretch of the imagination. Always had gut feelings, but as time goes by, you get more sensitive to the energies around you and investigations. Now I can go out and, it's not just the feeling that somebody's watching you. I'll get a pressure in my temples, a metallic taste in my mouth, tingling in my fingers, stuff like that. And then recently I had what I call an awakening. Brian calls it an ascension. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
was told the secrets to the universe in this ascension. And after that ascension, I was told that my vibration is through the roof now, and my aura is so bright, and all of this stuff, and I didn't tell anybody about it, but it's funny when you go out to investigations. We get invited out to a lot of investigations, and I know a lot of people who are psychics or sensitives, and you go out and you don't say anything, and then people say, "Oh my God, what happened to you? What happened to you?" And I'm like, "What happened to me?" And they say, "Oh, they start telling you, these psychics just start spitting stuff out about you, and like you never even told anybody about it." So this validates what my experiences were. Not to get into that too much, but as time goes on, you're doing ghost hunting. I hate the term ghost hunting, but let's call it ghost hunting. I'm doing ghost hunting, and you're trying
Yeah.
to make a connection, right? You're trying to get EVPs. You're trying to have some kind of communication, and then you go out and you're doing UFO investigations. We do UFO. We take all kinds of sightings reports. We go out if something has dropped something or landed. We'll go out. We'll take all kinds of environmental measurements and stuff like that. And and then you want to make, like, what do they call it, C5, right? People want to do C5 to try to make contact with UFOs, right?
Hmm.
And you do this, and you do this, and you do this, and the next thing you know, you start realizing that it's all about consciousness and intent. That's what it's about. And I don't care if you're going in the middle of the woods, bigfooting, or if you're sitting in a field sky watching doing UFOs, or if you're in a haunted house. It's all about intention and higher consciousness. And when you put that intention out there and you put this consciousness out there, you raise a consciousness, you get responses. You know what I mean? we've brought in UFOs more than one time. We've actually brought them in on the Travel Channel too, but we've brought in UFOs. We've had Bigfoots and Dogmen come up to our camp. We've made contact with spirits from the other side. You know what I mean? So the thread, so as time goes by, I'm thinking, you know what? All those people who talked about higher consciousness like 20 years ago, and I started this that I thought were crazy, those people were way ahead of me, man. So far ahead of me, I had no idea. And and there are people whose brains I pick, that have been in the field longer. There are no experts in this field. Please don't. I don't ever want to hear that word expert. There are people who are more experienced that have been doing it longer, and there are experiencers who experience the paranormal in all kinds of different aspects. And that's it. There are no experts. And you go out there, and as you experience this stuff, and you go on and you go on and on, and it's all about your intent and your consciousness, and how to communicate with people like the ufologists. If I was to sit down with someone from MUFON and say, hey man, it's you're trying to do a CE5 to bring these crafts in. You have to communicate with a higher conscious. You have to let them know what your intent is. They'll think I'm out of my mind. They won't agree with me at all. You know what I mean? They'll say you're nuts. And and the same thing with Bigfoot people. If you go, they're just starting to do this now. I see more and more researchers that are out there now trying to. They call it mind speak. I hate that term, mind speak. I call it mental telepathy. Let's call it what it is. Mind speak to me dumbs it down, makes it sound like you're an idiot. Mm-hmm. I call it mental telepathy. If you can connect with something else at a higher consciousness and a different mental telepathy, frequency, vibration, whatever you want to call it, and you can connect with them, and you can bring them in to your camps, and have an interaction. I've been told by, again, psychics that I know, whenever I'm at a symposium and I'm sitting around one of these people, I like to pick their brains, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm always not that I'm, trying to work my way up the ladder to be on TV. I'm built for radio, not TV, believe me. But I like to pick their brains. I like to think how they think. Like me and Brian, my partner Brian, we're great together because I'm a straight shooter. I'm black and white. This is the way I see stuff. He, on the other hand, thinks out of the box. Sometimes he'll say shit that's so out of the box. I'll say, dude, you're out of your effing mind, And, but then, 6 months later, he may be right. You know what I mean? A year or two later, he may be right. And I'm the one who's wrong. I can't tell you how many times I've changed my opinion on so many different subjects of the paranormal because, you go in thinking this is what it is. And it's got to be this. Like Bigfoot. What's Bigfoot, right? Oh, Gigantopithecus. It's a flesh and blood animal. It's this, it's that. You know what, man? I've changed my mind on that thing so many times. I can't tell you. It would be here all night just trying to figure that one out. But it's consciousness, it's vibration, it's frequency, it's intent. I can't tell you it's intent how much it is about. There's Brian now. Yep. Intent. It's all about all of those things combined. Whenever you're doing an investigation, if you can combine all of those things together, you will have such a successful investigation, no matter what you're investigating. I'm telling you, it could be ghosts, it could be UFOs, it could be cryptids. You will have so much more success if you incorporate these things. And to me, just one man's opinion, that's the thread that holds it all together, Yeah,
and somebody just, Carolyn just asked, now, because she was asking if you had a web page, that was one of the things I was going to get to here a little bit. Where is the best place for people to reach you? Is it going to be just here through Facebook, or do you have someplace that you'd rather send them?
Well, we have the Bronxville Paranormal Society website. You can go there.
Okay.
Or you could just reach out to us in any of our groups on Facebook, or you could just reach out to me personally on Facebook. I've had people reach out to me, like I'll be talking about a certain photographs that we have, and people say, "Oh, where can I go see them?" And I send them, and they can't find them because those photographs were taken 15 years ago, 20 years ago. They can't find them, and I say, "Look, just reach out to me, and I'll send you a picture. I'll send you one of the pictures." My copy of the photograph, so you can get it directly. You don't have to go searching and stuff like that, But I mean,
Yeah,
and
I wanted to
that's
bring
just
this up.
that's
I'll
just the
put
way
this
I
on here.
feel,
Yeah, and here's that. Here's that for everybody. Here's the Bronxville Paranormal Society.
That's the web. Is that the Facebook page?
This
or
is the
that
website. Webpage.
The
This is all one word.
Okay.
BronxvilleParanormalSociety.com.
Okay.
And so you
Thank
can
you.
go. Like I said, you can go there. I said I like the poll you have here too. Well, the one that's showing all the stats. No, and well, kind of while we had the break, one of the questions I wanted to get you, because I teased that, about the Dogman. Why do you believe that this is? Because for me, I mean, just from the outside thing, I honestly never really heard about the Dogman, really growing up. I mean, this wasn't really a thing that was that big, but it really seems in the last few years that Dogman sightings, talk about Dogman stuff has really exploded. So what do you attest that to? Is it the COVID experience? More people are out there researching, or is it one of those things that you feel like more people are becoming aware of this?
I blame it on Vic Cundiff. Okay, Vic Cundiff started Dogman Encounters, and I think he put it out there for the world to realize what's going on. And I think once people got it, realized that there were other cryptids out there, and we all know about the Lizard Man and what's his name, the guy who flies there, the Mothman, and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We know there are others out there. That are more famous than, but Vic put that out there, and then you research it, and it goes back to ancient times. The further you research it, the more, the more you'll see that these dog-headed men or whatever, they call it cephali or something like that. I think it was the Greeks, and then all these ancient people. Talk about them, the Greeks talk about them, the Romans talk about them, the Egyptians talk about them. It's they talk about them because they've encountered them. You know what I mean? They're not making up stories. This is not a novel. They're writing a fiction novel. They're writing down stuff that they encountered, and so it goes on and on and on. And I think humans. Our nature is to kill everything, you know what I mean? And we probably wiped everything out just almost to the end of existence. And then now these things are coming back, they're coming back. But I don't believe there's just one type of a Dogman either. I don't believe there's just, the same ones that were written about in ancient history. I think there are other types as well. I think the veil has changed. The veil has gotten thinner between worlds. You know what I mean? And I think dimensions, all these creatures that we're seeing now, a lot of them, like the rake, when I was young, the rake was called a ghoul. Now it's called a rake. Okay. And it went away for forever. And now all of a sudden it's back again, and I just think these things know how to manipulate time and space, and they're going through. Some of these things are going through portals. Some of them are flesh and blood that are here, and I just think it's a combination of everything,
So you think they go through portals? That could be the reasoning to my question on why don't you think with all the vast land that no one has caught the Dogman Bigfoot on a trail cam? like physically caught them, like, oh, I'm grazing through the wild. So maybe they're smart enough to know that this is a trail cam. Let me kind of go around it. Let me stay away from it. So what you're saying, they go through portals, I could believe that.
Yeah, but I don't believe that no one has ever caught them on video or photographs. And I believe there are tons and tons of clean, clear pictures of these creatures, both the Dogman and Bigfoot, maybe taken from a distance with telephoto lenses or something like that, or zoom lenses. But I know people who have amazing photos and great video. They just don't put it out there. Because if it's too good to be true, then they get harassed as being called a hoaxer. It's CGI. It's this. It's that. But if you know the person personally, they're a straight person. They're not BSing you, and they keep it to themselves, and they only share it with people that they trust. And I think as far as these cryptids are concerned, let's look with the Dogman and the Bigfoot. A lot of these trail cams have all infrared light. You have to trip the infrared light for the camera to go off, right? And I think these creatures see the infrared light. I think that infrared light is like a regular laser for me and you. If we point a red or green laser out in our backyards at night, we see it clear as day. I think that's how these creatures see the infrared light coming off of the trail cams. So they just walk around them, you know what I mean? But
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. I'll say mine first.
Go ahead, Chris.
That's the best explanation I got for the infrared. Like, you point a laser out in your backyard in the middle of the night, you see it, it illuminates. So the trail cam has that infrared, and they're like, okay, well, let me just, walk.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, if you got pets, the pets see it too. Dogs see it, cats see it as well. You know what I mean? They see in infrared. They can see in that spectrum of light, And again, it all goes to different spectrums of light. I mean, if you can raise your consciousness or your vibration, you can change the spectrum of light you're in. You know what I mean? And 1 minute it's there, and then the next minute it's not. People say, well, it just disappeared, or it went through a portal, or it did this. Maybe it did. Or maybe it just raised its vibration to such a high frequency that it changed the spectrum of light it's in, and now you have to change your spectrum of light to see it, to continue to see it.
It makes great sense.
Now, for the uninitiated, that a lot of people that aren't still here, what is the biggest the way to differentiate between a Dogman and lycanthropy, the werewolf?
I've never seen a werewolf. I don't know what, I mean, some people say werewolves have the ears on the top of their heads, where the Dogmen have the ears on the side. I've never seen a werewolf. I couldn't honestly, I couldn't tell you. I could only tell you what I've seen and what I've experienced, So, but that's what I've been told by other researchers, that werewolves, real werewolves, right? Shapeshifters, whatever you want to call them, they have, if they shift into a Dogman image, right, or a werewolf image, their ears would be on the top of their heads and not on the sides. That's what was explained to me by people who have more knowledge on it than I do.
And then, there are things over the Cryptid and Paranormal Kingdom. Werewolves have no tail, Dogmen do. So they say.
Okay.
But yeah, that was one of the things, because a lot of people, I know that people is like, what's the difference? I mean, isn't it wouldn't that be considered a dog? And I'm like, I know there are differences. I was just one of those things as things. It's like people explain, it's like, what's the best way to explain the difference between? And then Brian just. Werewolf is a Hollywood concoction of a human and transforms into a creature. Dogman is a real species. Now, the Dogman too, are they permanently, like that? It's unlike a werewolf. They're in that. That's their shape. That's what they are all the time. Now, there are different variances of them. You know what I mean? I've seen the ones that have the big wolf-like snout. People call it a German Shepherd head, but I call it a wolf because that's what it looks like, a wolf head. Mm-hmm. And we also have photographs of one that has, actually we have two photographs. One that looks like a hyena,
right? And one that looks almost pit bullish, you know. Um, but I know there are 7 or 8 different variances. I'm sure there's probably more than that. But as far as getting back to the werewolf thing or the shapeshifters in Native American folklore, when a Wendigo or a skinwalker would transform. Well, a Wendigo is always a demon, so he could transform into anything. Okay, but skinwalker, when it transforms into a creature, like if it transforms into a wolf, it will have a tail. You know what I mean? But it will be on all fours like a wolf. You know what I mean? It's not going to walk upright like a person. So, I mean, I'm not so sure about the tail thing. I don't know, but
I think it's Kino Kefaloy. I think it's how you say it. Or
yeah, I can't probably
Kili.
can't
Yeah,
Celocephaly,
Kefali, or just guys. Like I said, it's one of those.
Cenocephali. I think that's how you
But that's
pronounce it.
the
Cenocephali.
tribe of dog-headed men that were native to Africa and India.
They were in the Middle East as well, Turkey, I believe, but they had heads that looked more like hound dogs, or let's say a Great Dane or something like that. You know what I mean? They didn't have wolf-shaped heads.
This is one. I mean, this isn't something that is solely North American. This is one that's a potential worldwide experience. This dogman.
Yeah. I think all of this stuff is worldwide. You know what I mean? I don't think it just happens on this continent. I think it happens in every continent around the world. If you go and you research history on all these different continents, they all seeing the same things, whether we're talking about UFOs or Bigfoots. Now, maybe different continents, the Bigfoots may be smaller, not quite as big, or in other continents they may be bigger. You know what I mean? Something to that effect. But it's it's a worldwide phenomenon. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like the reptilian, the avian-looking carvings that are all across the world. They show the same depiction. Them all set in what is that either shows that at one point the world was a lot close, like Pangea type thing, that there was a lot more closer and the cultures were closer together, or there was a lot more, word travel, the seafaring things than we have been led to believe.
Well, listen, I believe there's so much lost history that we can't even fathom it. I believe that there is probably history where we were much more advanced than we are now. You know what I mean? I believe that there's just so much lost history, just ridiculous, and I believe that there are some people that have a good knowledge of it, like people, the Smithsonian, the governments, the Vatican, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
They have all these secrets and stuff. They know what was here before, and how old the planet is, and what kind of how long man has been here, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, because there's many stories. Like I've got a giant book back here, Forbidden Archaeology.
Great book.
That is basically a textbook, but I mean, I enjoy reading that one, and it has all this stuff like the seashell that was discovered, and it was back, I think it was the Cretaceous period, and it's a perfectly laser engraved smiley face in a seashell. And so this is in a layer that it shouldn't be there. I mean, and they found an Egyptian tablet in the Amazon. This artifact shouldn't be there, which, in these type of things, I mean, we found, the Templar carvings here in North America. And It's like these things, according to our history, that we should not be here.
Should not be here.
And I've said so many times, like one of the things, like if you could go back in time, and we'll just kind of play this, and I'll ask this question for you. It's like, if you could go back in time, where would you go?
That's a good one.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, my gut tells me ancient Rome before Nero burnt the libraries. You know what I mean? Or
Mhm.
ancient Egypt before the library was burnt there. You know,
So
I would
I'm right
love
there
to
with
be
you.
able.
That's
I would
that's me.
love
The
to be.
Library of Alexandria. I was just like,
Alexandria, yeah,
yeah.
and that
Oh,
or the one in Rome as well. Because what the Romans actually did is that whatever didn't burn in Alexandria, they brought to Rome. You know what I mean? So one or the other. Those two libraries, I would love to sit down and check out.
yeah. And that's and then oh, hey, there's Tom. Yeah, there's a yeah. So it was one of those. It's one of those things, and that's So everybody is like in the chat room. Comment. Everybody like where that's a question for everybody. It's like if you could go back in time, because I know a lot of people. I'd go back to see Jesus. I'd go back to the time of the dinosaurs. I'd go back. You have all these things, and I'm just like, that this history in the burning of those libraries,
Oh
the
my
stuff that
God!
was the stuff that was looted and taken by the old
Lost.
families,
Yeah,
the Vatican, taken away and hidden, and stuff that was lost is just absolutely, criminal.
mind-boggling. It's
I mean,
mind-boggling. Yeah, I mean, like I always say, I got a book that's like this thick, and it's called "Secrets of the Vatican Library." You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And man, to, it, all the
What
world history. You know what I mean? There's so much stuff in there, so
I'm
much
gonna I'm gonna
knowledge.
butcher the actual distance, but I mean we're talking miles of shelves that are underneath, and they're finding stuff. I mean we're talking about documents that potentially are world altering, that are just piled in boxes, that are
Yeah,
just that are just on shelves that just haven't and they're slowly going through this stuff, and you think of just what information and knowledge is just sitting in that vault.
mind-boggling. Same thing with the
Yeah.
Smithsonian. Could you imagine just in the Smithsonian alone, the stuff they found in North America between the giants they dug up all over the giant
Hmm.
mounds in Ohio, and supposedly the caves they excavated in the Grand Canyon with all the Egyptians and the giant jade statues and stuff like that from the Orient. It's just it doesn't make any sense that there's a part of the Grand Canyon that you're not allowed to fly over. Why? Why can't you fly over
What are
it?
you gonna see
Right.
that's
Why? And then they found these ancient subterranean tunnels filled with all of these riches from all the different continents on the world. And, to me, they keep finding these subterranean uh, towns or cities and stuff like that are perfectly carved out. Who did this, and what did they use to create these subterranean tunnels and stuff? It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, Mona's was a good one. It's like I'd pop into the Salem witch trials to see what that nonsense is about.
Yeah, stay away from that one motor. They may burn you at the stake.
Yeah, that's one of those. You got to be careful. It's like
Careful, very careful with that
yeah,
stuff.
it's and Harold was like I would go back to the dinosaurs. But yeah, and I like this is one of those things. I mean, I think that was predictive programming, that last scene in Indiana Jones, where all those artifacts are in those boxes. I honestly think that there are locations like this where this stuff is just
I'm
thrown in
certain
a
there are.
crate, and
absolutely.
it's just given a designation number, and it's been locked in a shelf, and the people that put it there in the 30s and 40s don't even are dead. Nobody even really knows what's in those shelves.
Yeah.
You don't touch it.
Yeah.
And most of that stuff now is probably on these underground bases and stuff like that, just to preserve it too. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, that's why I'd want to be unseen. Yep. Let's go. Well, one of those, it was just discovered. Did you see that in the thing where in Iran where they discovered that priestess? She was about
No.
6 feet tall. She had eye that was it was a fake eye, but it was painted gold. And so I saw one of those comments. It's like, this is 2022. For God's sakes, nobody remove that eye. Do not touch the freakishly large priestess, eye. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is the type of stuff like out of Indiana Jones. That's going to summon the mummy type thing. We're just going to have this. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I mean, again, what were the ancient pyramids built for?
Yep.
What's that all about? I mean, there's pyramids all over the world, and they all have the same kind of shape. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Luigi,
crazy.
I'd go to 1400 France to work as a jester in the court of King Louis. That one. And then Chris was, so we'll kind of give it a little bit more back here on topic too. Is he had a close encounter with a Bigfoot, and when you were talking about when you're starting, what is your suggestion? And we'll even just use this as an example. I don't think Chris has ever been on one. I've never been on one. Like I said, if we were to go out right now, what would be something that you would recommend, like a starting point? Like if somebody was to start out right now, I want to go look for dogman. I want to go look for Bigfoot. I want to go do these things. Where do we begin?
You find the closest national park, and then before you go in, protect yourself spiritually and physically, because you're going to experience things in the woods, the deep woods, that are going to blow your mind spiritually. So be prepared for that. And just find a location that has all the signs, the bends, the breaks, the arches, the X's, stuff like that. And when you find a location like that, just hunker down and let them come to you, because you'll never find them. Just let them come to you. That's the best way to find any of these creatures, is find a location that's got a lot of sign, structures and stuff like that. And then once you find it, hunker down and just sit there and see what comes your way. Now, there's a lot of different techniques that people use. We use a couple of different techniques as well. What we use is a Tibetan singing bowl, and we fill the woods with frequency and vibration, which usually changes the energy in the woods. So be prepared for that. And that usually draws them in when they hear the Tibetan singing bowls going off. If you do find a very squatchy location, you could use Native American ceremony music to bring them in. Believe me, they will come in when they hear that, drumming and stuff like that. They're very curious creatures. They like to know what's going on in their woods. So things like that, I'm not going to get into too much stuff, because we've taken it to a whole different level now. You know what I mean? But with the things that we do, and data's still coming in on a lot of the stuff that we do. But simple stuff: Tibetan singing bowls, Native American ceremony music. Find a location that's squatchy, and then just hunker down.
Yeah, because one of the things too, like when you're, for anybody that's a hunter, one of the things you do is, you go out like prior to the hunt and just kind of look and see
a
if
location.
You can look for signs. And so kind of like what you're saying, where if you found a location like that, do you go that first day, and if you don't see anything, do you go back like multiple days, like kind of make a weekend of it and like kind of go multiple times in case like you don't see something the first day, just keep coming back? Or is it one of those, you go to an area, sit there, if you don't do anything, you're like, okay, let's move to another
on to the next?
No, what I would do is, you got to understand that these creatures, they don't migrate, and like they don't go from like the north to the south in the wintertime. But what they do is they rotate around a certain area. Okay, so if you found an area that had all the signs in it, and say it was in the summertime, and you were there, and nothing happened. It's July. You tried everything, nothing happened. It doesn't mean that they're not rotating back around there. You're just there at the wrong time. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I have locations where I only get hits in the summer. I have locations I only get hits in the fall. I have locations that only get hits in the wintertime. It just depends on the clan that's in that area and where they are in their rotation around their territory. You know what I mean?
That's what I was just going to say. Is it like, do they migrate?
They don't
Is it like a
migrate in the
migration?
sense. It's not in this. Not I wouldn't call it a migration because when you migrate, you go from like north to south and south to north, like the birds do to get away from the bad. They don't do that. As long as the territory that they're in has got plenty of food, they'll stay in this. They'll stay in that. Look, I mean, I'm not saying it's not a big range. It could be a big range, a couple of 1,000 acres, but they'll migrate around it. You know what I mean? So I have one spot that I go to. I call it the sacred site. I go there in October, always in October. And whenever I go there, we have stuff happen every single time without failure. Okay. But I can go there in the summertime and not get anything, Again, when I go, I like to go day night. I like to be able to get into a location during the day, scout around, see what's around me, look for, deep hollers or ridge lines and stuff like that, because that's where they're going to be. They're going to be up on the ridge looking down at you. They're going to be creeping by you down in the holler, you know what I mean? Or a deep gorge just to get by you. So, you scout out a location, get there during the day, and then, and you can do these things, all day long. Like I said, I like to get in during the day and like to stay, late at night and just do that. And, there's no set time for them to be there. Sometimes when I'm at the sacred site, they may roll in at 9 o'clock at night, sometimes they may roll in at 2 o'clock in the morning, so there's no set time. Time and space they don't have anything to do with time and space. You know what I mean? It doesn't apply to them, so.
Now, Chris and also King brought this up. Now, do you find when you're near a body of water or, river, lake, pond, so that do you find that you have better experiences, better results when you're doing the thing, or is?
I find that most of my locations is by a body of water, and lakes, streams, creeks, stuff like that, rivers. There's always a body of water not too far away. Yes, swamps are famous for stuff. There's a lot of animals that live in the swamp, so there's a lot of food there for them.
I think it's, and I think it is like for a moose. Do they act like that to take shelter? Trying to
act like what? I'm sorry.
It says when she's asking about a moose.
Does he know what a moose is? I don't know. I'm
trying to think of I'm trying to join. Yeah, if you. Are you asking if he, do they act? It's, what a moose does. Is it something, something like that? Is there some similarity to it? I'm not sure.
I mean, I've seen moose out in the wild, but I don't actually know their behavior pattern. So I don't understand what she's trying to say. I'm sorry. I'm missing the question.
I think that's what she said. Yes. I think that's what it, I think that's kind of what she's hinting at. It's like if there's similarities between, like somebody might mistake, the actions of like what, what moose, what they do out there, for being like a Bigfoot moving around or a dog man. Just like the noise they make going through the trees.
I've seen moose up close and personal in the swamps. They are noisy. The Bigfoots and the dogmen are only noisy if they want you to hear them. Otherwise, they can creep up on you. I've had one belly crawl up on me within like 7 feet of me, and I didn't even hear him. But I had a friend who was with me, who works for an alphabet agency, looking through night vision goggles, watching them the whole time creep up on me, And my friend was freaking out, and I was like, "Don't worry about it. We're good. We're at the sacred site. Nothing's gonna happen to us here." So they could be very, very quiet and creep up, or I've had them come down off a ridge where they march around you and stomp, and they let you know they're coming. You know what I mean? It's all on them. They can be the quietest creature in the woods, or they can be the loud. They can sound like a herd of elephants.
So with that perspective you're given right there, when they're about to approach you, or like the guy was seeing them through the night vision goggles, did you have the metallic taste? Did you have that funny feeling? Did they bring like a sacred energy that you've never felt before when you're in the presence? Or
Okay, well, let me explain it this way. The sacred site has an energy about it, okay? When I'm there, I'm very euphoric. Um, I don't know what it is about this place. I could sleep there underneath one of the arches in a sleeper bag and not worry about any other animal coming up and bothering me or worrying about them coming down off the ridge and taking me. Um, you can there is an energy about them. They do have an energy to them, and you can feel the energy if you're lucky enough to vibrate at the same frequency. You know what I mean? Now, when that particular time when that happened to me, I hadn't had my ascension yet, so I didn't feel it. I mean, like I kind of had a gut feeling that something was creeping up on me. You know what I mean? But it was just a gut feeling. It wasn't like like when you're walking through the woods and you just know something is watching you,
Oh yeah.
and you don't even question it. You just know that you're being watched, and you even know where they are. I'm telling you, it's over there on that ridge in that location right there. To the west. You just know it. I haven't had that yet. Like I said, we got so many locations going on right now. It's like I'm not spending enough time at just one location. I'm bouncing all over the place. Where before I was spending just about all of my time at the sacred site, and I had a good rapport with this clan. You know what I mean? I like to say that they tolerated me. You know what I mean? Because I've brought other people up there I've brought psychics up there, and stuff like that. So I've brought ghost hunters up there, and they tolerated everybody we brought up there. So, but the problem is when you get all these different sites, I don't want to say that after all these years of researching, I knew it all, okay? Because obviously you never know it all, right? But last year alone, at a couple of the different sites that we've found, I've had like 3 epiphanies, just totally blown my mind. Like, wow, this thought never crossed my mind, and here it is happening right here and now. It's validating. This is just my. And then I get on the phone and I call these older researchers, these older guys that have been doing it for 50 years, and the older guys, they don't tell you anything. They'll say, call me when something out of the ordinary happens, and then I'll call them and I'll say, hey, this happened to me. That ever happened to you? And they'll say, oh yeah, you're on the right track now. And they'll tell me this, and but they won't tell you ahead of time. Like, I got a few people I'm working with that I've kind of taken under my wings, that I'm throwing them bones here and a bone there, so that they don't have to spend 20 fucking years doing this, and learning everything. Let's give these guys,
Exactly.
I mean, I would wish the older guys would do that with me, but they don't. But when I have these epiphanies and they validate it, and then they open up and they tell me more and more and more about, what's going to happen next. Keep doing this, keep doing it. But it's like, so what I'm trying to do is throw a couple of guys' bones here and there to get them a little bit further along at a faster pace. You know what I mean?
But I think maybe the old heads do it like that because you might add somebody, not you per se, but somebody might add, well, I seen this and I seen that, and go right along with their story. But if they don't give you nothing, then when you see it, it's easier for them to validate than decipher whether you're giving them BS. Well, they told you this was gonna happen, and you're like, well, I seen this and it happened just like this. And then they're like, okay, well, I don't know if it's bullshit or not. But if they don't give you anything, and when you come back to them to bring the validation, they be like, well, yeah, he said he's seen it walk this way, or he's seen it, the trees move this kind of direction. They'd be like, okay, yeah, we've seen that numerous of times. He's on the right path.
Yeah, but I also believe, and I totally get what you say, and I totally agree with you. But I also believe that these older generation, I mean, a lot of people think I'm the old man, you know what I mean? But the big guys, 20, 25 years older than me out there doing it, they they won't even validate your story if they think just a hint of bullshit in you. You know what I mean? If they think that you're mining them for information, you know what I mean? Then you're done. You'll never get a real thing out of them. They'll tell you fake bullshit and to see if you go out and you say exactly what they said. Meanwhile, they know it's bullshit. You know what I mean? So
So
yeah,
that's
you really have to gain their trust. Like I said, I'm a straight shooter. I call it the way I see it, and they I guess they just know feel that vibe from me when I talk to them. You know what I mean?
So you just further validated my point. Like when you said that, like they then you go out there and they give you bullshit, and then you
Right,
come back because you people want to see the Bigfoot, the Mothman, the
Lizard
Sasquatch. They
Man. Yeah,
want to see the so they come back with the same validation bullshit that they gave you. They go, oh, he's full of shit.
exactly.
He
Yeah.
doesn't know.
And then you'll never get nothing out of them ever again. You know what I mean? But I mean, I'm sure at some point in early on in my career when I was reaching out to them, they were testing me. You know, I'm sure of it. I mean, we have a team psychic who's like fifth generation Native American. This woman is spot on every single time we use her, and she tells us stuff and we just look at her like, what the hell are you smoking? You know, even after all these years, I've tested her many a time, especially in the beginning, and she's always fucking right. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Spot on. So I mean, I don't test her anymore, but it's crazy. You know, I'm sure I was tested. I'm positive I was at some point.
Those are the ones I really like. Those are the psychics that I prefer because some people. I mean, I'm not gonna discredit a psychic, but some people can dig for information and kind of add on it. Well, what did you? Well, what were you eating for lunch? Or what kind of? Well, what did your lunch look like? Okay, well, then that could be bologna or that could be ham. So basically, if you don't give them nothing and they give you all the information, you're like, damn, how does she know that? Well, at 2 o'clock in the morning, you were rolling over and you woke up. Wait a minute, was she in my house? So those are the ones that I really validate the most. I really take the most out of their stories because they don't ask for a whole lot. So hey, so what happened here? Or what you do here? They basically give you the upfront, and then you're like, oh damn, how did she know that?
And let me take it one step further. My psychic lives in Arkansas. She does everything over the phone through me. She calls me a conduit. So she reads everything through me. So she's not even on site. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And she still bangs it out. Bang, bang. I mean, just boom, 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 boom. Just if I tell you half of the stuff she told us that we were going to see, you would think I'm out of my mind, okay? But the scary things, it all came true. It's crazy, man.
Now it's kind of right there. Just while I was waiting here. Tom mentioned that you should tell about that encounter with the juveniles that were harassing the ladies.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was crazy. I don't know. Do you want me to just give you a quick one?
Yeah, that would be
All right.
awesome.
I was out with a ghost hunting team. They invited me out, and I said, okay. And because most of my guys come from the city, I'm up in the country. You know what I mean? So they're not going to travel all the way up here. So I go out with other teams as well. And I had two ladies come up to me on one of the teams and said, hey, we want to go squatching. It's on our bucket list. I was like, okay, I'll just, this is what you got to do. I told her this is the equipment you need, and this is what you got to do. Okay. So, and I told them, now don't freak out when it gets dark, because when it gets dark in the woods, it's a different kind of dark than when you're in a haunted house. And they're like, oh no, we've been in plenty of dark spaces, creepy basements and attics, and we'll be fine. Okay. We hike in 4 miles into the woods. We go up to the sacred site. One of the women is a psychic. Okay. And the other one is just a regular person. And so the site, now it's the way the sacred site is set up. It's up on a high plateau, and it's got these giant rocks set up in a circle with hundreds of stones on top of the rocks, like megalithic stones set up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the psychic woman, we'll call her Wendy, decides, she says, I'm going to take a walk around the area and just feel it out, feel the energy, you know? And she go, okay. In the meantime, I called my psychic down in Arkansas to talk to the other woman, Maureen. And my psychic is telling her, yeah, it's, you know, it was a Native American burial site, and I believe the Bigfoot are using it as a burial site as well. And the Native Americans thought it was the people who built this structures were white men with hoods and all this stuff. She's saying, you know, talking about the Native Americans and all of this stuff. And I'm showing her the X's and the bends and the breaks and the arches and all kinds of structures everywhere, you know. So they finished talking, and the other one comes back from her walk around, and she says, I met a Native American girl on the outskirts of the Stones. She asked me if she could wait here for her tribe. I told her that was fine. Was that okay, Al? And I said, absolutely, that was fine. Now, she had no idea that the other one was talking to my psychic down in Arkansas, and my psychic was telling her all about the Native American stuff, right? So when she starts talking about Native American stuff, the other woman, Maureen, is freaking out. Okay, so we hunkered down, we settle in, we got headlamps. I don't take any firearms out with me. 18-inch machetes, 10-inch survival knife, pepper spray. That's it. We're hunkered down, and we're sitting there, and we're underneath the arch, and I start playing Native American music, okay? And then after a few minutes of playing the Native American music, and I told them, because I feel like we're being watched from the ridge. There's probably a scout up there watching us, you know? And the psychic woman says, yeah, I feel an energy coming from the same spot that you do. I was okay. Then 15 minutes later, it's pitch black now, pitch black. And I got glow sticks around us for ambient light, because I don't want to light a fire in the woods, start a fire or something. Because it's the fall, it's October, or there's a lot of leaf litter, you know? So I got these ambient glow sticks around us, and you hear boom, boom, boom. The big boys are coming down off the ridge, and they're surrounding us. And the girls start to freak out. And I'm like, calm down, ladies, calm down. You know, like, did you hear that? What the hell was that? It sounded like I heard elephants coming down. And then the other, they're freaking out. And I'm like, listen, if I can feel your anxiety, they can feel your anxiety. We don't want to freak them out. Relax. We're at the sacred site. We're good. I promise you, nothing bad is going to happen here tonight. So then they start throwing rocks at us, like little strafing us with little pebbles, right? But nobody's getting hit. They're landing all around the glow sticks. They're not even landing inside the glow sticks, all around us. And the girl's like, okay, it's time to go. It's time to go. And I'm like, no, not yet. We don't have to go yet. We're not ready to go. I'm not ready to go. And they're ready to go. They're ready to go. And then at one point, one of them grabs a fresh branch and snaps it. This sounds like a 30-06 going off by your ear, okay? At that point, the girl's like, let's go. We're ready to go. So I was like, okay. They want us. Now I'm certain that they want us to leave the sacred site. So we pack up our gear, and we hike out. And we hike down. We hike down about 2 miles. We come to a meadow. We sit at the meadow, and we discuss what happened up at the sacred site. And they're freaking out. Because, you know, the whole time we're up there, we're hearing whoops and knocks and whistles and all kinds of rock knocks and tree knocks, all kinds of stuff going on, you know? And this part of the woods is devoid of life. There's no animals in this part of the woods for some reason. So, you know, we're discussing all the stuff they experience. You know, when you hear a whoop up close and personal, it goes up your legs and through your body. You cannot not know what that is. There's only one animal. There's only one animal that does that. Okay, so we're sitting there, after about 20 minutes, half hour of talking about what happened up at the sacred site. And they can't thank me enough. Oh my God, I'll thank you very much. And I was like, okay, well, let's head out. Now we're walking along a mining road. And we got a whistle coming from our right and a whistle coming from our left, and what sounds like a hoot owl 100 yards behind us. And the psychic woman says, we're being followed. And I go, yeah, they're hurting us out. This is what they do. They hurt us out to a certain point, and then they turn around and they go back. They just want to make sure we leave. Maybe they want to go hunting. Maybe they want, they have infants they want to, bring down to the lake to feed or whatever. No, don't worry about it. It's not and I'm arguing with Margaret, Maureen, because she's telling me that's a hoot owl behind me. And I'm like, it could be a hoot owl, but I don't think it is. At one point, this hoot owl that's 100 yards behind us comes racing up. I mean, boom, blink of an eye, it's right behind us. And it hoots really loud, like, 800-pound owl, right? The girls take off running. Boom, they take off running. And I'm trying to get them to stop. Don't run. We don't want to get their prey drive going. You know what I mean? We don't want that instinct to kick in. Stop running. You can't outrun them anyway. Stop running. When that one comes running up the mining road, the other two jump off onto the road. So now all three of them are on the mining road. Finally catch up to the girls about 100 yards down the road. I finally get them to stop. And then they do something I've never heard before. The vibe I got originally when it all started was that these were three juveniles trying to scare the shit out of these girls. All right. I think they were just it was like a weird kind of joke, a prank, and then they start jumping up and down, slapping the mining road. And you can feel the vibration come down the road when they hit it. And they start doing monkey barking. Hoo, 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 hoo. The woods are echoing. And my mind is going a million miles an hour. What the hell is going on? I'm thinking, what do I do? Well, I got a flare gun. Should I shoot it over their head so I can get a better look at them? Should I shoot it on the road? The mining road is but I don't want to set the woods on fire. God forbid I set one of them on fire. The other two will kill me, So all this stuff is going through my head. The girls are freaking out. And I'm like, okay, I pull out the machete. I put my headlamp on. I put the machete in the headlamp so they can see it. And I start walking towards them. And I'm screaming and I'm yelling and I'm cursing and I'm telling them to knock it off. Because at one point, the energy changed. It was like it was getting almost fever pitch. It was like 1 minute you could feel it. They were just doing this to scare the girls. And then the next minute it changed. And all of a sudden I feel like if I don't do something right then and there, these three juveniles may come charging down to get these girls. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm the alpha. These girls are with me. I got to do something. I got to turn the tide. So I start walking towards them. I got my headlamp on. And as I'm walking towards them, screaming and yelling, they must be backing up because I can never get them in my headlamp. And then the girls, I got about 100 yards away from the girls, and the girls started to freak out. Stop. You're too far away. Come back, So I turned around and I walked back, put my machete away, and I told the women, I said, okay, listen, we're going to walk out of here at our own pace, and no one's going to bother us because that they weren't supposed to do. That's never happened before. And I don't think the big boys that surrounded us up at the sacred site would be too happy if they knew what these juveniles were up to. You know what I mean?
That's great. That's a crazy story.
They weren't there to do that. They were there to guide us out, not to do it. And I'm positive that all that monkey barking, when they got to that fever pitch, the big guys at the other end of the 2 miles away could hear them clear as day. And they were probably like, what the hell is going on down there? They may have even started to come down to see what was going on, And I turned around, told the ladies, let's walk. We started walking out, and maybe we were about 2 miles from the car. And about a mile into the walk, the psychic turned to me and says, Al, I don't know what you did, but whatever you did, they're not following us anymore. I said, I put them in their place, you know. I said, this started off, I think it started off as a joke, but I think it may have gotten serious at one point. Now, I don't know if these were three young men that smelt the women and got excited, or if these were three young women Sasquatch that smelt the woman and were pissed, jealous. I don't know. But, I mean, I had to do something, and I had to do something right then and right there, you know? And we got back to my Jeep. We put all the equipment back in the Jeep, and the women were like, okay, now we can cross this off the bucket list. I'll never go in the woods again. She goes, I won't even go in the park for a Sunday walk. I'm done with the woods. I was like, okay. I said, but nobody got hurt. Everything was okay, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But it was very scary, you know? I mean, I had been at that sacred site 100 times by then and had 100 different interactions with them and never had anything like this. And they always heard you out all the time. They don't just assume you're going to leave. They make sure that the teenagers, they're not children that are walking you out. They're teenagers. They're like 18, like a teenager kind of youth is going to guide you out just to make sure you get away so they can go hunt. They can do whatever they have to do. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
No,
that's awesome.
It was crazy. Yeah, no, it was crazy. That night was crazy. I was like, wow. And I still hang out with these women to today because I still go out with their paranormal group every now and then, and we always discuss it. Like, man, remember that night?
Well,
like,
I mean, yeah, what a way to knock something off your bucket list.
Yeah. I mean, there was no mistaking what was going on that night. You know what I mean? That wasn't three guys in the woods trying to scare us out of there, believe me. Because when they were slapping that ground and they were doing that monkey barking, man, it was hitting you in the chest like a bass drum at a Metallica concert. Boom, boom, boom. And the woods was just echoing. I mean, it was crazy. And you could feel them like, you could feel like all three of them come down on the mining road like at different times and then slap it. You could boom, 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 boom. That's what it felt like, like the rhythm on the road coming down under your feet. It was crazy.
No, Brian was like, you have to get all of us, to do the things. I'm like, I know the list of to-dos, is insane that, honestly, we're going to need like 2 or 3 weeks to do everything that we need to do up in the Northeast now. Everything
just me and Brian need 2 or 3 years. We got so much stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It really is. I mean, and that's just one experience. I have tons of experiences with not only with Sasquatch but with the Dogman. Then I ran across a creature that I call the Green Goblin. Have you ever seen the Spider-Man movie with what's his name? Defoe. What's his name? William Defoe.
Mm-hmm.
When he was in that Green Goblin suit, I had an incident with a creature that looked like that. Okay, and I told my brother, who's my confidant, right? And I said, and he's like, well, whatever you do, don't ever tell anybody it's the Green Goblin because they're going to think you're an idiot. And he says, but he goes, what you seen was an insectoid. That's what he called it, because it did kind of look like some kind of insectoid creature. But that's a whole different story in itself. But I mean, and I seen a rake, and which I never thought I would see in a million years. Like the thought never crossed my mind. And it's just crazy. I don't know why I see all these things or I have these experiences. I can't tell you why, but people say it's my aura, that these creatures see the aura and they're drawn to it. I don't know. I can't see my aura. I don't know what it looks like. You know what I mean? But it is what it is.
Yeah, it could be, because there are some people where it seems to have, it's almost like a magnet, it's just like things seem to happen with them, it's just because we've had a few people on where, it's like you go side to side, you'll have people like, oh, I see it all the time. I'm like, I need to start going with you because I never see these, I don't see the UFOs. I mean, I've got the thing. I want to see it. All these people around me have seen them. And I'm like, I want to see a UFO. I'm like, so I need to just find people like yourself and I just need to hang out. Let's go.
my brother's been after me for years to get regressed. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because of all the UFO sightings I've had over the years. You know, but I'm good. You know.
Yeah, no, it's what, as we're getting close to here, wrapping it up, just one. I mean, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing all these stories.
No, I mean it's my pleasure. Anytime you guys, want, just ask. You know what I mean?
Don't tell us that. Don't tell us anytime. But I really appreciate you coming on. It was amazing.
No, look, I just recently retired from 32 years at the post office, so I got time now. You know what I mean?
So, all right. So here, as we're wrapping, there's what's craziest story you've had from your time at the post office?
Nah, I mean, no, I didn't really have any.
The lady running out of the house naked because she forgot to put the mail in the
yeah,
box.
You've had a few of those. You know what I mean? Actually, the station that I'm in is haunted. And we actually know who's haunting it. So it turns out it was the old janitor. This guy who worked in the office, and I actually found him at his house. He didn't come to work for a couple of days, and he lived on my route, which wasn't far from the post office. So my boss told me to check in on him. So when I went to check in on him, I knocked on the door to see if he was okay. The door opened up, and he had died. He was dead in the chair. So I called the boss. I called the cops and everything. But there are people in the station, like the girls at the window clerks. They won't go downstairs into the locker room. They won't go downstairs into the lunch room, because that's where this guy spent most. He had like one of the rooms down there set up like almost like an apartment. You know what I mean?
Oh, really?
And yeah, and you can go down there and you'll hear it like a boombox going sometimes. One of the girls was sleeping in the boss's office one morning. She got to work really early before her shift started, and all the doors were closed and locked. And when somebody slapped her in the back of the head, like to wake her up. And when she woke up, the door to the boss's office was unlocked and opened, and the radio was playing, So it was like, what the hell was that? And I said, yeah, that's just, we used to call him Papa Doo. That was his nickname. I said, that's just Papa Doo. He just wants you to get up and go to work, But yeah, so I mean, I've done EVPs in the office. I mean, crazy stuff like that, but not, it's just nothing really too crazy. Well, not for me anyway.
Yeah, no, that's one of those. I mean, I'm sure you're glad to be done in the era of Amazon.
Man, let me tell you, the last 10 years I've been driving a 3-ton truck delivering packages. I've never worked harder, believe me.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah,
and they track you every second of the day. They know where you are. You know what I mean? You can't stop to take a piss before they call you. What are you doing? How come you're not moving? Hey, give me a break. Leave me alone. So I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. 32 years. I'm done. I put my time in. But anyway, like I said, if anytime you guys need me, just reach out to me. I'm easy.
Oh, absolutely. No, that's fantastic. I mean, like I said, we have a good time. It's just, as we're getting into these things, I was looking forward to this, because this is one of those topics that, we just really haven't gotten, on. And so I was really happy that, you were able to make it on. So and I'm just glad you're feeling better. I mean,
amen, brother.
Yeah, that's the important thing out of all. It's like, even though the most important thing is you are back, on the healthy side. So,
yep. Amen.
All right. Well, and once again, thanks for coming on. And like I said, appreciate, to give love to the family, just sharing the time with us.
My gentlemen, it was my pleasure. It was nice meeting you guys and hanging out with you for an hour and BSing. And like I said, it's all good anytime.
Enjoyed it. And as I said, when, so that's so everybody, this show was brought to you by threebeardspodcast.com is our thing. And once again, Outer Realms Bath Works, Tanya Medea, she made, so we're working on this. We got to try to get her beard oil, so way we have something there. So I mentioned it. So that way we get it to Chris, so you can try it. I got a couple bottles coming. So
he says it's amazing, but I haven't tried it yet. So I wouldn't know.
I mean, Oh, just
Beard's
wouldn't
a little
Chris.
rough.
I mean, just Chris, don't just pretend like you can. You can smell it. The lemon. Yeah, it's got orange bitter, lemon, so it has a really nice citrusing. So it's kind of perfect for the Florida thing. So but yeah. So everybody go to support Al Santariga here. It just Facebook. You've got the New York State UFO Project, New York State Sasquatch Organization, New York State Dogman Project. You've also go to the Bronxville Paranormal Society. You got on Facebook, and you've also got on the website that you can go to there. Check those out. Go check. You can also reach out to him on Facebook. Alfred Santariga. So check that out. And I think I covered everything that you have that you want, unless I'm forgetting something to send.
No,
people
I think you got it. It's all good. You know what I mean?
Awesome. Like I said, so just everybody go check them out. You can also find him if you do some YouTube searches. You can find him on different programs that he's been on, from the network TV, and also some indie project films, which it's just, I've seen a few of those things, and it's kind of one of those things we've got a video star here with us here. So,
Yeah. Believe me, the networks don't want to deal with me. Believe me, they're just let me tell you something. It's not all what it cracked up to be. It's just let's put it this way: they rather deal with Brian than me. So, Brian does more TV than I do. Believe me. He's easy to work with. I'm just too demanding, I guess. I don't know.
I feel like I'm going to have to get for you guys. I'm going to have to start getting headshots with the signatures. Like those diners they have them right here.
I want some of that beard oil, man.
Yeah, I'll have them out on the wall, and you'll just see. It's like you'll just have a picture. It's just of all the people that have been on the show. From the stars. So as I said, I'm going to have to start getting you those photos. All right. Well, all right, sir. Well, thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thank you, gentlemen. It was my pleasure. A lot of fun. I really
everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. We are going to see you next week. We got a kind of a special one. It's back from my time back in Oregon. We have one of the DJs from KU. He's going to come on, Dave Clemens. So we're going to have the Dave Clemens experience. So it's going to kind of get the inside view of what it's like to be the old school DJ radio DJ that actually had to put the records and the discs into the thing before the tech, up to being a program director and stuff. So this is going to be a lot of fun. So everybody tune in for that one. It's going to be a different one. So thanks again, everybody. Go support Al, join his sites, especially, support them, thanks guys, everybody, social media, follow us, like, share, that helps. Comments, those really seem to help too. So everybody, thanks again. Have a great night. We'll see you. Good night.
Ciao.